The story begins on an important day. 8 candidates were invited to interview for a top position at a prestigious company. They were shown into an exam room with 8 seats, each one holding a piece of paper with a roll number on it. A guard was stationed by the door, and shortly after, an invigilator entered and explained the process. The invigilator tells them that only one question will be asked, and they have 80 minutes to answer it. He gives 3 strict rules. Rule number 1, they can't talk to the guard out there, rule number 2, they can't spoil the exam paper, and rule number 3, they can't leave the room. After stating this, he asks if anyone has questions. When nobody responds, he left. The candidates look down at their papers and discovers they're completely blank. One girl, feeling confident, writes, "I'm sure I deserve this job," but as soon as she does, the guard comes over and takes her out for breaking the rule about not spoiling the paper. Everyone gets tense, understanding how serious the rules are. One of the candidates suggests that talking to each other might be allowed since the rules didn't say anything about it. He starts speaking, and surprisingly, he did not get eliminated. But encouraged by this, others join in, and they begin brainstorming ways to figure out the question, thinking that maybe teamwork is part of the test. To keep things anonymous, they gave each other nicknames based on their appearance. The boy with dark skin called Black, the fair-skinned one was called White, and the other one called Brown for the girls. They decided to go with hair color blonde, brunette, and dark. There was one more guy who hadn't spoken yet, so they gave him the nickname Mute. Someone suggests the question might be written in invisible ink, so they hold the paper up to the light, but nothing happened. Blonde girl suggests shading the paper with a pencil to reveal hidden text, but Black reminds her that would damage the paper, risking disqualification. The group keeps brainstorming, and they even consider the idea of trying a blackout to see if something might appear under a blue emergency light. After debating, they decided to take the risk and turned off the lights. The room went dark and the blue emergency light lit up, but once again, there was nothing on the paper. As time ticks away, tensions grow. White suddenly has an idea. While they can't spoil their own paper, maybe they can try something with someone else's. He grabs one of the disqualified candidates' papers and starts experimenting, but still, nothing happens. Desperate for a breakthrough, he even urinates on a piece of paper, but his actions only irritate the others, making it clear how much the pressure of the test is getting to everyone. Someone gets the idea to trigger the fire alarm, thinking it might reveal something on the paper. A girl grabs a lighter and sets fire to a paper, hoping to set off the alarm, but as the paper burns, she realizes it was her own paper handed to her by White. This disqualifies her as well. Tension rises, and they started to fight, during which they discover that the room has a voice control system. The silent candidate sitting quietly in the corner begins to cry out of frustration. White approaches and asks him, "Why don't you just tear your paper, overcome by emotion?" The candidate tears his paper in response. The guard steps in and eliminates him from the test. As he leaves, his glasses slip from his face and shatter on the floor. One by one, more candidates get disqualified. Then White explains the answer is hidden in this question. The last remaining candidate is the answer to this question. White rushes to the guard, takes the gun from him, and threatens Brown to leave the room. Now, only 3 candidates were left: Blonde, White, and Black. White tells Black that it's his turn to leave, but Black refuses. Blonde then decides to leave, but before she leaves, she says, "Lights out," as the lights suddenly go off. She hides, and White starts firing blindly, unaware of her location. He eventually finds Black wounded by a gunshot and unconscious. Blonde's foot was still inside the room when the clock ran out of time. White spoke to the invigilator, claiming that he had won. However, the guard immediately escorted him out for breaking the rule of speaking, as time hadn't officially ended yet. It turns out that Mute had adjusted the clock's time earlier. With White disqualified, the only candidate left was Blonde. The invigilators came with the CEO of the company, who was none other than Deaf, and they asked Blonde for the answer. She simply replied no, which was the correct response. Blonde had used Deaf's glasses to check the question, which turned out to be the very first question the invigilator had asked them. "Do you have any questions?"